Hey guys, I'm the new guy here, just showing a quick demonstration video for skill tree 1.2.0. It's been, I've already done a video, but I've added a lot of new things, so I figured it's worth probably showcasing a new version. So again, very casual video, unstructured, incredibly unstructured, but you know, it's just get straight into it. So one of the first changes you'll notice is a new perk to the buildcraft tree called Thrifty duplicator. This gives you a 3% chance per level of duplicating an item or crafting. So an example would be if you craft an AK and this skill procs, you'll get 2 AKs instead of 1. So it kind of works and complements the refund one as well. One that gives you a chance to refund components. So now I've also added a number of event plugins that will now give XP. I don't actually own any of them, so I can't really demonstrate them, but it now supports Harbor Event, Junkyard Event, Power Plant, Satellite Dish, Water Event, Air Event, Armored Trains, and Convoy. The declared winners of those that the plugin passes through will receive an XP bump. I've introduced a new tree called Underwater Skill Tree. And you'll see here we've got a number of different nodes within that tree, so mainly around sort of underwater, naturally. So Cage Diver is reduces damage from sharks by 10%, and you've got Reckless Diver, which is a further 10% per level. So this by default combined gives you 100% damage reduction from sharks. We have Guild. This skill will allow you to breathe underwater for 60 seconds per level, up to a maximum of 5 minutes. So again, just a way to basically replace the water, the oxygen tank. Shark Veterinarian, so this skill gives you a 2% chance per level of finding useful item when skinning a shark. So this is kind of like the logging luck and mining luck, but for sharks, specifically for sharks, and it basically houses every component in the game. Treasure Hunter gives you a 2% chance of finding useful items while looting crates underwater, so this has a chance to add pretty much most items in the game to crates underwater, so it makes underwater a lot more beneficial. Nimble Fingers allows instant untie of underwater crates. Instead of sitting there holding E to untie them, it just instantly unties them at the press of a button. And the Aquatic Combatant increases the damage done by while underwater by 10%. Now that includes in underwater labs. So if you're shooting scientists, this will give you a 10% damage bump per level. I've also added ultimates. As you can see here, I've got ultimate settings, but I've added ultimates for for most trees. So an example of an ultimate is Stone Sense. So this skill allows you to locate nodes within a 200 meter radius, and that's done via a chat command, which can be triggered every 60 seconds. So what I'll do is I'll level up the nodes. Another thing you'll also notice is the fact that there's no longer that white flash when you're doing things very quickly on the menu. So you can see here when I unlock the node, you can locate a node every 200 meters using the chat command /locate nodes. So we'll go. We have a look around, there's a stone node over there. And that was the only node within 200 meters, which is interesting. Now this won't disappear when a player mines this node out, so this will remain. So that's just food for thought. So keep that in mind. But yeah, it'll disappear after 60 seconds. Okay, very tired, so forgive the terrible typing. So let's just respec out of that one. And then we're going to look at woodcutting. So woodcutting, I've added an ultimate called Deforestation. The skill will harvest surrounding trees in a 10 meter radius when you cut a tree down. Now one of the benefits of this particular ultimate is that it will apply all of its perks to it as well. So if I have instant mine, if I have any bonus yields or anything else, it's going to apply that as well. So if I grab an axe, start hitting this thing down, you can see all the trees in the area fell down, and I got all of the charcoal on the wood and everything else. So yeah, pretty simple but pretty powerful for those who like to cut lots of trees down. It doesn't give you the XP for all the trees, just the one that you cut down. So that's also something to keep in mind. So the next one is skinning skill tree. So this one here is this is actually an interesting one. Have you ever played V Rising? It was kind of inspired by that. So killing an animal while this skill is active will give you a temporary buff. So if, for example, if I kill a bear, I'll get a certain perk. If I kill a chicken or a boar or a stag or a wolf or a polar bear, I get all different perks. So let's do that. One thing you'll also notice is some of these nodes have actually changed position. And the reason for that is because you can actually now have the ability, now have the ability to actually add your own nodes and add more than 3 in a row. So you can have as many as can fit on the screen. In here as well, which I can show you a little bit later. So let's level this up, and we'll do this one as well, and then level that up. So let's grab my LR, trusty LR, some ammo, and we'll spawn some animals and see what happens. So if I spawn a chicken, for instance, and kill the chicken, you feel powerful. The power of the chicken flow through you. You can no longer receive 4 damage. Now they are temporary buffs. They're configurable for how long they last for. You can configure all of the values entirely. So yeah, some of them can be might be OP for your server depending on your requirements, but you can change them. So if I was to take 4 damage right now, so I make sure I've got no God mode on, I don't take 4 damage, just that little bleed. Now if I kill this boar over here, you feel the power of the boar flow through you. You may find some useful stuff when collecting wild berries and mushrooms. So basically what this does is it gives a drop table for collecting mushrooms and wild berries. So I have a chance of finding components while collecting those items. You know, because boars are really good at sniffing apparently. So the next one is the wolf. You can see here, healing feels more potent with friends around you. So because wolves are in packs, the flavor there is basically that a wolf will hunt in a pack. So if you heal yourself, it's more effective if you've got people in your squad around you. Next one is a bear. Scientists cower in fear will not engage unless engaged. Will not engage unless engaged. So if I turn God back on because I'm bad, spawn scientist NPC underscore cargo. Now this guy shouldn't attack me. Yeah, there we go. So he's not going to attack me. He's real scared of me. If I shoot him though, he doesn't like that. So that's how that perk works. I'm sure I'm forgetting something else. Polar bear. This one here gives you an overshield. So I turn my God mode back off and take a little bit of full damage. You can see it actually comes off of the overshield. Now the value for the overshield is adjustable, but yeah, once the overshield goes, it'll either time out when the timer finishes or when the overshield is depleted. And then the last one is stag, which I don't have a player on to test with me, but this one here basically allows you to receive a little HUD indicator if another player is near you, and it actually it has the option to show you through the wall where their last known position was and how often it polls. So if you want it to poll in real time so you can see if the players moving around, you can adjust the value to poll more frequently. But by default I think it's every 10 or 20 seconds or something like that. So it's not game breaking in the fact that you can effectively have wall hacks, but it does kind of show you roughly where the players are, and you know, you've got a bit more caution around you. So again, it's something you can adjust, you know, just to be a little bit less OP if you think it isn't right for your server. But yeah, that's how the skinning ultimate works. The next one is the Botanist ultimate, which is for harvesting. This skill will gives you the ability to set the genetic composition for plants you deploy. So this one's really cool. So basically it lets you set whatever genetic makeup of for your plants that you please. So for example, I unlock this one. It'll give us a chat command we can use. So we can see your plants will now be deployed with your desired gene set. Type /genes, so set genes to set your desired genes. The cooldown is 0 seconds. Now, servers can set a larger cooldown, and the way that it'll work is whenever a player places a seed down that gets the genetic makeup, it will add a cooldown, which means any future further seeds will just simply do whatever they would normally do. So if I go set genes, you can see here that this is the gene structure, so you can set it to whatever you want. So all G's and 2 Y's seems to be popular by most people. So that's my new set. So if I deploy a thing down there, you can see that it actually gives me those genetics. And that's for all seeds. So again, pretty OP by itself. Yeah, but you can set the cooldown, so it does make it a bit more, does bring it down to reality a bit more. So that's the harvesting tree. So let's respec that one. Let's head over to the medical skill tree. So this one here is a 50% chance to resurrect at your last place of death. It does not count for suicides. So if I wanted to, for example, just get myself up a bit here. Alright, cool. So I level that up. Now the way this works is I need to die, so turn God mode off, spawn a bear here and let him finish me off. So when I die, by default there's a 50% chance that I have the option to resurrect. You can see a little button appears at the bottom right corner there when you die on your death screen. So I can press this or I can respawn, up to me. But if I press this, it rolls a 50% chance. If I'm successful, I will respawn here. If I'm not, it'll say failed. Yep, okay, so I wasn't successful, so I can just respawn, and that's pretty much how that ultimate works. It allows you to effectively respawn back at your old position, so yeah, super. Oh. Yep, so that's how that ultimate works. Nice and easy. Next one is the combat skill tree, and we have Vampiric tendencies. This skill will heal you for 1% of the damage done to certain enemies. Enemies include scientists, animals, and players. So, firstly, it's configurable to disable scientists, animals, and/or players. As long as there's one enabled, it's fine. And you can adjust the percentage value as well. So if you want it to be higher or lower, it could be set as a decimal place. So maximum level is obviously level 1. So if we get up to a point there, we can unlock it. So ultimates by default require 25 points. But again, you can adjust that. So if I'm on low health at the moment, which kind of works out well, so if I put a bear here, you can see I start to gain a bit of health as I kill things. So in itself, 1% isn't that much, but over a period of time, it does add up. But again, you can adjust it to whatever suits your server. If you think it's underpowered or overpowered, whatever. So super simple, just basically makes you heal for damage, or for a percentage of the damage you do. Buildcraft is the access granted perk. This skill will allow you to use any coloured swipe card in any reader to access it. So I can use a green card and a red, or in a red reader, or a blue card in a red reader, or a red card in a green reader. It will consume condition, and there is also the ability to set a success chance. So, for example, if I set it at 50%, the success chance at 50%. There would only be a 50% chance that I would be able to do it, like I would be able to successfully swipe a card. And yeah, a 50% chance I'll be able to swipe a card, and if I failed, I would still lose durability on the card, but I wouldn't be able to get in. But if I was successful, then the door will open, so it's a trade-off. Let's pop a fuse in here, turn this bad boy on and head over. You can see the green card's lit up. If I swipe this, she opens. And you can see the durability was lost there as well. So super simple perk, but very useful for those scrap farmers. And I think last couple of perks we have here, we have the Scavenging Tree perk. So this one is the Shredder perk. This automatically recycles components from barrels when broken. So it would be the same. So when a component would drop, so for example a pipe or a road sign or something like that. Let's just level this up. Basically, what it'll do is it'll automatically refine those components for you. So let's put some loot magnet on. And again, all these perks kind of work together seamlessly. So we'll spawn a couple of barrels here and we'll see what we get. So if I just toss all this wood away, I'll just toss my bullets away, that's fine. So if I shoot this barrel, I got cloth and scrap. I got wood, stone, and so basically I'm getting items in here that like the deployable items or those trash items that you would normally get. But you can see I'm actually getting them decompiled. So I'm getting a lot of scrap, a lot of, you know, this and that. So a lot of it is just simply the raw materials that you would normally receive, plus obviously the scrap value. So if I just ditch this away for testing purposes. You can see I'm getting the materials. So this would have been from something like a Tesla coil or something like that, or this would have been from a chainsaw or something. So you can see that they decompiles the items, and that's how that perk works. So pretty useful. So let's respec that one and check out the vehicles tree. So this one here is this reduces damage dealt to your mounted vehicles by 100%. So if I pull up my skill tree and we'll whack in, we'll level up our crack horse. It's the fuel economy, and now we have Unbreakable vehicles. So if I just grab some low grade, stick some low grade in the boot, and let's see how much damage I take running into the ground. So this one's great for terrible flyers such as myself. Makes the game a lot more forgiving, and it works for any sort of vehicle. So you can see I'm no longer taking any damage. But if I was to disable this perk, I would very much take damage. So if I just respec it, and we go for a nosedive. Yeah, didn't like that. So yeah, it works for cars, works for boats, works for everything. I think that was the last ultimate. So cooking doesn't have an ultimate. I probably will look at reworking this in the future. Underwater, I've got to think of an ultimate. So if you do have any suggestions, feel free to let me know, of course. To carry on with the rest of this though, so that's the ultimates, obviously. I've added a fix for extra pockets so it works more reliably with items that have containers and contents, such as the backpacks plugin. It will now do an infinite. It goes into an infinite level of item containers, so it should realistically work now. And the ability to add more than 3 nodes per row. So if I jump in and quickly whip up an adjustment to my config, so I just grab a. So we'll go onto the. I don't know, we'll just go into the mining node and see what we can adjust in here. So if I just create a duplicate of what I've got here, so let's just say amateur miner, let's add another amateur miner, but we're just going to call it amateur miner 2, and then we'll save this, reload skill tree. If I do /st, you can see here we have amateur miner 2 now. So we have another one. Now if I do the same thing again, and say we have amateur miner 3. see here we've now got a third amateur miner, all of which will pull up their values. But this is an example of how it actually works in terms of its the ability to now add more than 3 nodes per row. So if I change this one here and add some more, you can see we've now got amateur miner 4. And the buff information keeps getting shifted to the side until it gets to a point where basically if it was to do it again, it would push it off the screen. So then we just simply go amateur miner 5. Let's save that, reload, and it should actually reduce the distances between to match. So this allows it to actually fit in. So you can add a lot more nodes now, and this obviously just dips back to the other spacing depending on how many nodes this particular tree has. But that's how you can now add more nodes than obviously than you need to, depending on your requirements. This will kind of fit in with plugins that will allow, because I've actually added the ability to add your own perms using other plugins or even just via config as well, that are all permission based. So you can now add permissions as an unlockable skill tree node, which I will be demonstrating. Let's just do that now. So the perfect example is the cooking tree. So I've created cooking as a kind of a test guinea pig type thing. So cooking currently has 4 things. It's glutton, easily satisfied, iron stomach, and frugal rationer. So if I reload my cooking plugin, which will basically send a new permission called Instant Chef. So if I have a look and see if it's been put on there yet. Let me just force a save on the server, because it doesn't actually take into effect until the server saves. You can see here we now have a new perk called Instant Chef. Cooking food with the cooking plugin will be instant. So if I was to cook food without this particular perk, it would have that 10 or 30 second cooking time. But because I have this perk, it would now be instant. That's an example of how permissions can work. And you can also have multiple levels for permissions and add different permissions within those levels. And the description is simply sent via that plugin as well. But once it's sent via the plugin, it will also be put into your config. So you no longer adjust it through the plugin that sent it. You then adjust it through the config file, which I will just grab right now and download. So if we have a look here, Instant Chef is now enabled. We have its max level set to 1, its tier is 2, its value per buff is irrelevant because it's an on-off buff, or because it's permission, sorry. And you can see here that it uses the key 69, which is basically permission, and value 5, which is permission as well. So this means that this buff is entirely a permission-based buff, whereas if I wanted it to be permission and, say, mining yield, I can also have that, because I could just set the key to mining yield and the value to percentage, and have perms in there as well. And it's going to have it all. It's going to kind of add the perms to it. So you can see cooking food with the cooking plugin will be instant. You can change the language to whatever you like. And then we have the amount of points invested in the node and the perms list that we get for that. So basically what it'll do is every time a player levels up, it'll check the previous perms, unassign those perms from the player, and then assign the new perms to the player. So for example, if I wanted to have, say, free cooking, for instance, I could do this. So the way that works is because it has to unassign the perms, when it goes from node 1 to node 2, it's going to unassign the cooking permission and then reassign the cooking permission down here and the new cooking permission on top of that. The values to the right is just simply how it's displayed in the information. So that's how that kind of works. And that's pretty much permissions in a nutshell. There's the ability for plugin developers to be able to implement their own using API calls, just the add node API, which I'll be publishing on on the sales page. But if you do have any questions, just hit me up. It is subject to change though, so just keep that in mind and make sure you stay vigilant on updates. I've reworked the config into categories, which I can just show you very quickly here. So they're a bit more organized. So we now have general settings, buff information, chat commands, XP settings, rather than just a list of random fucking things. So yeah, they're much more organized than they were. I've added nighttime gathering yields and information. So if we have a look at XP settings, and then we scroll down to nighttime settings, this is a request by someone on CodeFling. Basically, it's a modifier for the XP gained at night. So if you want players to get more XP at night, 1.0 would be, 100% of their XP that they currently would normally get. Whereas if I wanted to give them a 2 times value, I could set that to 2.0. If I wanted to be 150%, be 1.5. So it just uses a decimal, like a decimal place multiplier. Modifier for wood cutting yield at night. So this is how much extra additional wood the player receives for wood cutting at night. This is how much extra mining yield they receive at night, skinning and harvesting. And should the harvesting include player grown plants, which you can set to false by default. I've also added the ability to limit rested XP. So rested XP will no longer go by default. What did I change that to by default? Yeah, by default won't go past 25. No, I've disabled it by default, so it's set to 0 by default. But if I actually go to rested XP settings. Yeah, okay, so I haven't readjusted the config on this. So you can now have a maximum value for rested XP, so the player won't accumulate more than the maximum value. I haven't been offline since this was reset though, so it's going to show my order values in my data pool. But if I was to disconnect and reconnect, then this rested XP pool would be set to 25,000. Because that's what it would cap at. So yeah, and then you can see obviously the flicker with the skill tree when you do very fast actions. It still has that little black flicker because it's having to reload all of this information every time you click it. You can see here there's no longer that white flash in the background, which got really annoying. That was dangerous if you had to see if you had epilepsy or anything like that. So yeah, that's pretty much 1.2.0 in a nutshell. There's a lot of other little bits and bobs which I can't visually show you. It's just more bug fixes and changes. A lot of work went into this though, so if you do like it, feedback is definitely appreciated. Always looking for more suggestions, ideas, that sort of thing as well. Things that'll sort of fit the flavour of the tree. And yeah, let me know if you find any issues. I hope you guys enjoy, and see you next time.